everyone. Okay, let me try it again. Good evening, everyone. All right, great. We always start off on a high note. We'll see where we end up. I just want to thank you all for joining us tonight. This is the District 1 Budget Town Hall. My name is Renee Alfonso, and I am the Comms Director in County Executive Pittman's office, but I am also a District 1 resident. I have the pleasure of being your moderator tonight. So this town hall is part of our annual Budget Town Hall series and is your opportunity to let the county leaders know what you want funded in the fiscal year 25 budget. For those of you who are veterans who've been here before, or for those of you who have never been to one of our district budget town halls, I'm going to give you just a quick preview of how things are going to run tonight. So this evening you're going to hear brief opening remarks from the county executive and Councilmember Pete Smith. Then the county executive and budget officer Chris Trumbauer will share a brief presentation about the outlook for our fiscal year 25 budget. After the presentation, we will open the floor for public testimony, which is the part that you came for, and you will get a chance to share your thoughts. But before we begin, I want to introduce, and we have just one of the county staff that we have here this evening. So from the Department of Public Works, we have Aaron Day, who's the current assistant director. So thank you for being here tonight. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce County Executive Stuart Pittman.
Welcome to the fifth, right, of the 8 budget town halls. I like these because I get to sit next to the county council person from the area, and I really like sitting next to Pete Smith because, you know, we do a lot. We'll try to keep the chatter down. It's like putting the two bad boys in class next to each other, and they start chitter-chattering. So if we do that, just shut us up. But we do work well together, and District 1 has often been underserved in the county, in county budgets, in rec and parks, and I've been working with Pete on that. We're trying to make some headway back. We have some good things happening here. But the budget town hall, some of you are, I call frequent flyers, who come here not just to speak to me and speak to the council person together about what your priority is, but you're also here speaking to your neighbors and trying to gin up support for whatever it is that you think is a priority for the budget. And there are a lot of priorities. You're going to hear about some of the challenges, the fiscal challenges this year. Don't see that as a total downer. It's a great big budget, so we squeeze things in that we think are important. But we're here to hear from you. But first, you're going to hear brief hello from, or maybe more than a brief hello. You get as long as you want, Pete, from Pete Smith, and then you're going to hear from Chris Trumbauer, who's our budget officer, who used to be a county council person for 8 years, and so he understands really all of county government. Probably the best budget officer any county has ever had. Really is. He actually can explain this stuff, so hopefully it makes sense to you. So come on up, Pete.
I'll certainly try to be brief. A couple weeks from now is Valentine's Day, and I am so grateful because I was going to ask the county executive if he would be my Valentine. And so, well, he is now my Valentine. So now that we're sitting next to each other, I'm grateful for him. But on that note, I do want to say how proud I am of this annual event. I served on the county council when Mr. Trumbauer also was a councilman as well, and he'll tell you that we did not have these events in the past. And I'm grateful because it kind of realigns and it resets the priorities for the county executive and the county council, and it gives us an opportunity before the ink has already been cemented in the county's budget to prioritize things that are important to all of us in this room. And that right there is what government is about. It's about interacting with the citizens that we impact and making sure that you all have an opportunity to actually voice your opinion so that we can prioritize those things in the budget. I will briefly tell you some of the things that I feel are important, especially to District 1, because I grew up in neighborhoods that similar to District 1, and we had a lot of different things that impacted us during my youth. So I will tell you that just like with any other household budget, Obviously, education in the blueprint is going to be important as we strive. It is literally the single biggest bill we have in our budget. How is it not our number one priority? Just like your house. Oh, yeah, that's definitely a thing. Just like your house, your mortgage or your rent, they're more than likely your single biggest financial obligations on a monthly basis. And you care about it because it impacts you. And so for us, the education system that we have here in our county impacts us. You may not see the reward from years from now when it comes to those students, but trust me, there is definitely a reward that comes from investing in that in a way that makes sure every student in this county has the tools necessary to be successful. Second thing that I care about is public safety. Again, it is the second biggest budget item that we have in our budget. But priority, specifically for District 1, when it comes to technology and things like that, you will hear me talking about that. I want more police officers in Anne Arundel County, period. You will hear me talk about that because in Brooklyn Park, I do not want to see another neighbor's car vandalized. I do not want to see another citizen purse snatched from them as they're leaving that house. I care about that, and if we can get more police officers, great. If we can't, then I want to leverage technology. So you're going to see me asking about that and promoting that in the budget because it's one of those ways to be able to maximize the personnel that we do have and get eyes on an area much quicker so that we can respond to those disasters, not disasters, but those tragedies in a way that's commensurate to the level of government that we are. So you're going to see me talking about that. And the other thing, and that goes with the fire as well. I mean, emergency services in general need to be responsive and grow at the same rate as the county government. Over the last couple of years, the last couple of decades, I should say, we have grown significantly as a county, probably 100,000 people over the last 20 years in population. But yet, our public safety has not kept up with that same growth apparatus. That's not necessarily this administration's fault. It is a systemic issue that has happened over the last couple of decades where we have devalued those services when it comes to public safety. And so you haven't seen that in this administration, certainly, but you're going to see us pushing the envelope to try to get more manpower, more technology in the hands of public safety so that you all feel safe when you leave your house. If I do nothing else in the 4 years that I'm in this seat, it will be at the end of the day to say I made someone feel safer. That is my goal, to make you feel safe when you leave your house. If you live up here in Brooklyn Park and Northern Glen Burnie, you know what I'm talking about. And so I want to make sure that you understand that that is my priority and one of the things that I'm going to fight tooth and nail to make sure we are taken care of. And the other thing I want us to do is housing. All right, you're going to hear me talking about, I know that's not a budget item necessarily, but I'm saying it here because we need to do something to make sure that folks who do move into this county have adequate housing necessary to be successful. I was homeless literally my senior year in high school, swear to God. My mother lost her house and I went to go live with my aunt my senior year in high school, that last 4 or 5 months before I graduated. So I know what it feels like to not have that as a resource to be successful. That's why I went in the Marines. I was like, hey, somebody's going to offer me a free bed and a cot and 3 meals a day. Let me go. And so I wound up joining the military just to get away from that environment. And so, but I don't want people to have to feel like they're obligated to do that in order to succeed in life. So housing is so important, and we're going to beat that drum over the next few months to make sure it is a reality for a lot of folks that are in this county. But those are the things you're going to hear me sort of preach from the mountaintop on, because I think they add value to your life, and they add significant contributions to the county government when it comes to resources when they are doing well. So thank you all. I can't wait to listen to what you believe we should be focused on so we can include those in this dialogue. But I'm looking forward to May 1st when this budget is handed off to us so we can do our part. But first, we have to listen to you. Take care.
Thank you, Councilman Smith, for those brief remarks. I'm Chris Trumbauer. I'm the county budget officer. I tease Pete because we served on the council together and I get to do that. But I'm going to run through a few slides here and give us a little picture of how the budget looks and what to expect in the year ahead. So first we're going to show the county executive's budget statement. You can find this on the website. I'll paraphrase it, but basically over the last few years we've made some tough but responsible decisions, and therefore I think the county fiscal foundation is in good shape. but the economic climate is tightening a bit, so there are some continued, probably tough decisions ahead. You heard both the county exec and the council member mention how important these events are, and this timeline behind me shows why. We are still in the budget preparation stage, so no budget decisions have been made yet, and that's why it's so important for the county executive to have these town hall meetings now so that we can get public input from constituents and interest groups prior to when he has to make decisions on the budget. So this is a good time for your feedback. As you'll see on the schedule, we have a few months ahead of budget deliberation and then final decisions, and then we will introduce the county executive's proposed budget on May 1st, in which at that time Councilmember Smith and his colleagues have 45 days to deliberate, amend, or hopefully pass a budget by June 15th, and then it becomes effective at the beginning of the fiscal year, which is July 1st. So I know what you're thinking. You're wondering, hey, where's all the county revenue come from? This chart shows you where. There's two big bars there. It's property taxes and income taxes. And together, that's over 3/4 of the county revenue. So that's the real backbone of county revenue that we use to provide all the services and initiatives that residents depend on. You can see there's other important components there too, like recordation and transfer tax, which I'll talk about in a minute. And we get some revenue from the state and investment income and other things like that. Where does the money go? Funny you should ask. You're sitting in part of it. The education system gets about 50%, about half of all the county operating revenue. So that's over, in the current year budget, that's over $1 billion with a B. And then, as Councilman Member Smith said, public safety is the next largest chunk of that pie. And then you can see the various other core groups of government from there, including our community college and library systems. Here's a little bit more detail on the education funding. So the way it works is we basically write them one giant check at the beginning of the year, and that's for $881.5 million this year. And then the Board of Ed spends that. They have pretty much control and autonomy over that. But then there's other county contributions that we fund to keep the school system running as well. So that includes the debt service, which is the interest they pay on their bonds to help build school construction projects. There's the school health, school safety, and then finally, starting this year, we are contributing to the retiree health care for school employees. And so as you can see in the yellow box, that amounts for over half of our budget and totals over $1 billion of recurring revenue. All right, so what else is in the budget? Well, FY24, fiscal year 24, is our current year budget. We're about halfway through, but here's some great stuff about it. First, we were able to keep our income tax rates the same or lower for over 98% of our filers. So pretty much everybody in this room, you're paying the same income tax rate this year as you did last year, and maybe even a few of you are paying less. We were able to increase our starting teacher salaries dramatically by $8,000, and that was because the system was having a hard time hiring school teachers. We had over 200 vacancies, and we've been able to cut that almost in half at this point. We were able to save the maximum amount of money in our rainy day fund. This is the county savings account where we hold money in reserve for the next time that we have an economic downturn or a recession. And then we established a dedicated revenue stream, which is money coming in every year for our affordable housing trust so that we can start to invest in some projects so that folks will have more options to live in Anne Arundel County. And then finally, for the first time in county history, last year we received a AAA Gold Star bond rating from all three rating agencies. That had never happened before, but that's kind of the fiscal seal of approval saying that we are managing the county revenues and expenditures very well. It's like a gold seal of approval. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how Anne Arundel County stacks up against our neighbors. That's always fun to do, right? Well, if you look up here, this is our property tax rate, and it's charted. We are the gold bar there in the middle, and all the other counties in Maryland, the 23 other jurisdictions, are in blue. So you can see we're kind of in the middle of the pack there, but we're actually the 10th lowest in Maryland. And of all of the larger jurisdictions with big populations like ours, we are the lowest. And you look and you have friends in Howard County and Prince George's County and Baltimore City, you can tease them a little. They're paying higher property tax rates than you are. If you look at income tax rate, it's a little bit of a similar story. Again, we're the gold bar up here. We're all the way over towards the right, and that means that we are the 5th lowest average rate in Maryland. And I say average because we actually have tiered rates in our county. Most other counties didn't do this, but County Executive Pittman and the County Council enacted this a couple years ago. Depending on how much income you make, you pay a different rate. So if you make $50,000 of adjusted income, taxable income, you're going to pay 2.7%. If you make between 50 and 400, like most of us probably, then you're going to pay 2.81%. Okay, but then if you are among the most affluent among us and you make over $400,000 a year in taxable income, you're going to pay 3.2%, which is the same rate that most counties pay across the board. So you see all the other counties here to the left of us, they are paying a higher rate than us, and it looks like about 8 or 10 are paying 3.2%. That's the highest percentage that a county can adopt under state law. Okay, so here's a graph of the rainy day fund. As you can see, it's grown pretty consistently, especially over the last 5 years of the Pittman administration. It's been a priority of the county executive and the council to grow our reserves. That puts the county in good fiscal foundation for when the next downturn happens. Now I'm going to turn it over for the county executive to talk about some of the investments that he and the county council made in the current year budget.
So Pete said he cared about education, public safety, and housing, so I'm going to talk about all of those. Just to brag, and I'll be brief because I want you all to get up here and speak. But this slide is what has happened with county investments in public safety. So the green dotted line is the gradual increase in the general fund spending in the county. The thing in the middle, change administration, was the 4 years before I was in office, and then the more recent. You can see that the rate of increase of spending, that police and fire jumped ahead of the green line, which means that there have been some significant investments. Lots more to do, but there's been real progress made, finally, after many years of not doing it. The next slide is public education, and what we show here is how much the county has spent over what the state requires, the state maintenance of effort number. It's a formula based on how many students you have and keeping you from going backwards. And we jumped way up in our first year to $40 million over what was required. But then the pandemic came, and we all thought the economy was going to collapse, and we tightened our belt in that next budget. And then we loosened it again when we saw that the economy was actually doing well, and we've been able to invest in our teachers, in our facilities, in our school. This is operating, but all throughout the school system. And the last 2 years, $50 million each year over the previous year. And this year, you will hear in a few minutes that they want $80 million over last year. So kind of a huge boost. But lots to do, but great progress being made. And then the next slide is rec and parks. And we threw that in here because I believe that what we do in terms of capital projects on land that is county owned, that is in most cases natural land, when we make it a place where people can exercise, get outside, play sports, enjoy nature, that we're creating something permanent in the county that makes, we have people who live in Jessup who actually want to, who live there because they can use Howard County's really cool parks, and we want it to be where people can use Anne Arundel's really cool parks, so you can live anywhere and get at them. So much higher numbers in recent years in terms of dollar figures for capital for rec and parks, and also 52 actual individual recs and parks capital projects. And then the next slide is affordable housing. And you can see that the earlier years, 16 to 18, 19, there was very little county money going into affordable housing. There's some federal money that we get, home and CDBG programs. There's a little bit of state money, but we pretty much let that do anything that was going to provide any assistance to folks to get into housing. We then increased it somewhat with some rental assistance and some home ownership programs, a little extra county money, and then it jumped up in 2020. In 2 years ago's budget, we plunked $10 million of our federal ARPA money into a housing trust fund, create a housing trust fund that is a flexible source that can be used to make affordable housing developments numbers work so that they can actually build them. Some of it is for home ownership, down payment and closing cost assistance. We have kept it near that number, and it will continue because now, unlike most counties, we have a dedicated revenue source for our housing trust fund, which is going to continue, and and it's about 8 million now, but we think it'll be 10 million, maybe a little bit more when the real estate market comes back every year to help with some of those programs. And then local projects, a lot of you are here to talk about capital things in the neighborhood, whether it's a park or whether it's sidewalks or whether it's a roads issue. But here are a few of those that are actually in the budget right now and underway. Brooklyn Park, I just want to mention, some of you have been to Brooklyn Middle School's new athletic complex. We had the groundbreaking there. Really fantastic new athletic complex that we've done with Cal Ripken Foundation. And we also have the Brooklyn Park with the Brooklyn Community Center that is in design now, that is also going to be really extraordinary and wonderful, right behind the Brooklyn Library, that I think this community is going to benefit from a lot. Those are the two I'm most excited about. So I'll turn it back over to Chris, and he'll talk a little about what we're projecting in the coming years.
Great. So we've talked about the current year budget, and now we're going to talk about what it looks like ahead. So in terms of fiscal expectations, it's always helpful to look how we're doing right now. We are about halfway through the fiscal year 24 budget, and as we watch revenues come in, they're coming in about on track as how we projected them. Local income tax and property tax are coming in pretty well. Recordation and transfer tax is the story, though. If you don't know, every time you sell a house or there's a refinancing, the county gets a little tiny taste of that in a recordation and transfer tax. So when there's a lot of activity, we get a lot more revenue. Activity is down because mortgage rates are high, people aren't doing a lot of housing things, and so that revenue is a little bit depressed, which is bad for the county coffers. If we look ahead for the next year, in the upcoming fiscal year 25, we can project at this point, we think income tax growth will continue, but it will probably moderate a little bit. It'll probably slow. We think property tax revenue will be fine, but recordation and transfer tax will likely continue to be depressed, and that affects what we can project in terms of overall revenue for the next year. I want to show you a little bit more detail on the recordation and transfer tax. So if you're looking at this chart, if you look over to the left, you see a peak. That was the housing bubble from 15 or 20 years ago. If anybody remembers that, that was pretty bad. So you see that went way up and then it came crashing down. So then you have about 10 years of what we would call kind of normal organic growth of the market. And then all of a sudden we see, hey, that big mountain peak is starting again. Well, luckily we kind of knew that that was artificial. It couldn't be sustainable and it would come crashing down at some point. So what we did is we kind of extrapolated that red dotted line, which you can see, as that should be kind of the natural level, and we budgeted towards that. So the good news is we weren't budgeting all the way up to that peak. The bad news is it's come down below that. So the silver lining is at some point when the real estate market recovers, there will be that kind of future growth available that the county will receive additional revenue when people start buying and selling houses again. But in the meantime, our revenues are down because of that. So if we look at what we're going to anticipate spending money on in fiscal 25, there's things we call non-discretionary increases. These are built-in things that we have to pay no matter what. It's things like our debt service for paying interest on our bonds. It's our health insurance and pension contributions. It's paying for our negotiated employee pay packages and things like that. Then we also have what we call our operational increases to consider. So these would be things like the county executive mentioned some things that were funded with our federal recovery dollars. That's going away. So there were a lot of great programs that we started and they continue to help people, and we may want to look at continuing them, but we'll have to pay them with county general fund dollars or another funding source instead of the federal assistance funds. And then we have our incremental funding for people and component units like our libraries and community colleges. And then the big one, which is at the bottom of the list in red, is our Board of Education funding. So they have a request every year that comes to the superintendent and then gets voted on by the Board of Education, and then we have to see how much of that we can support with available resources. So to show you kind of what we're dealing with now, this is a little exercise we do. The box on the right is very small print. You don't have to see it. But basically, it's going to break everything we think we'll have to spend money on into different categories that I talked about before. So at the top, we've got those non-discretionary. In the middle is our pay packages. And then at the bottom are those potential operational increases. Now, at the top, it's showing that as of today, our budget office is projecting it's going to be a fairly good year for revenue. We think it'll fall somewhere between 8 or 90 million of recurring incremental revenue. That basically means more money we get this year than compared to last year, right? That's the money we can do stuff with. So if you look at how this is structured, the top stuff, those non-discretionary, that sums up to, we're going to just, for the sake of this exercise, ballpark it, say maybe it's $25 million, okay? So if we started with 85, we're going to subtract 25 right off the top. Now we're down to what? Good, Pete, 60 million. So that means now we got 60 million to do everything else. So what are our pay packages? Well, we don't know yet because we're in employee negotiations. We can look at last year. They were relatively high because it was a high cost of living increase because of the inflation. So they were 27 million last year. We don't expect them to be near that this year. But for the sake of argument, let's say that's $20 million just for this. Then we subtract another 20. We're down to 40 million of recurring revenue that we have available to spend on other things. What kind of other things? Everything I listed before. Our library system, our community college requests, things that our departments do that they request to the county executive. We want to expand this program or get new positions to do this because we want to help people, right? And then the big one is the Board of Education, our public school system. So the superintendent's request at this point to the council, to the county executive and council, is over $80 million. So remember, in this little exercise we did, we only have 40 million at this point. So that means it's over double of what we think that we may have available. That means tough decisions ahead. We either have to find additional revenue or we have to make cuts somewhere else and do the best we can with each dollar, right? And what's compounding that for the Board of Education side is the amount of funding we get from the state is decreasing compared to last year because our enrollment has been static and there's some other built-in things with the blueprint for education bill. So anyway, that all adds up to there's a lot of pressure on this budget this year. And this slide here will show some of those pressures. We've got continued high inflation. We've got our incremental revenue is shrinking because of that gap in the recordation and transfer tax I talked about. And then we've got, at the same time, some of these state funding mandates are kicking in, especially with education. And then we have the rising costs of our pension, health care, retiree health insurance costs. And then finally, that transition over from some of these really worthwhile programs we were doing with our federal funds, needing to keep those going with county funds. So that's kind of what's keeping me up at night, trying to put that big puzzle together. Certainly the county exec and the council and all of us want to hear from the residents, not only on what you want us to fund, but maybe some ways to find some savings or find a way to make a dollar stretch further. So as far as more information on the budget, you can go to our Open Arundel portal and you can dig in not only to the budget but all kinds of data for the county. If you really, really, really like numbers, you can access our Budget Data and Development Explorer, which I like to call the Budget Buddy, and you can actually dig into agency budgets and look how that money is spent. It's a cool little exercise. And then if you want a copy of this presentation or you want to see more about this effort, you can go to aacounty.org/yourbudget, which is where we host all the information for these town halls. And then finally, if you don't get up and speak tonight, or you have a friend that couldn't come but wants to put their input, or if you're watching at home on the Facebook live stream, you can email budget-comments@aacounty.org, and I can personally assure you every comment is cataloged, read, and logged. And then there's a big report we do at the end of this process that puts everything together. County executive, the budget team, everybody sees that, and so we can see what input was given and what feedback was given in these town halls. So thank you for your time. It's now time for me to get out of your way, turn it over to Renisha for the public comment period.
All right, at this point, you have my permission to put your calculators away. There will be no more math problems and no more graphs. So this is the point. If at this point you're falling asleep, it's time to wake up because we're here at this point to hear from you. Yeah, because this is such interesting stuff. Now we're at the public testimony part of the evening where we get a chance to hear from you. So as a preview, each speaker will have 2 minutes to give their testimony, and you're going to know how much time you have left and what's left on the timer because you're going to see it on your screen right behind me. And for the sake of time, the county executive and council member won't respond to every comment, but they are listening, taking notes, and will share their thoughts after we've heard from everyone. So please stick around if you're able to at the end to hear their responses. I'll begin with the list of residents who indicated that they would like to speak when they checked in this evening, starting with our residents first of District 1, and then moving to everyone else who signed up to speak. I'll call a few names at a time. When I call your name, please line up in that order behind the microphone, which is over to my right, your left. After we have gotten through the entire list of people who signed up to speak, I will make sure that I open the floor for anyone else who would like to share their comments or budget requests. If we don't have time to hear from you tonight, just like Chris said, or if you think of anything else that you'd like to share, please email your request to budget-comments@aacounty.org. I will now call in several of you. Please line up behind the microphone in order to speak, or you can sit down and wait if you can't stand up for long. Furthermore, please speak directly into the mic so that everyone can hear you clearly. And please state your name before you begin because we are taking notes tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to call up a couple folks, and if you could just line up behind the microphone. Joanna Furman, Dion Meinhardt, Joshua Stivers, and Jennifer Stivers.
And I just wanted to briefly say, Delegate Simmons, I think he arrived here today, so just wanted to give a shout out to him. Thanks for coming down, Delegate Simmons.
Go right ahead.
Yep. Good evening. My name is Joanna Furman, and I live in District 1. I have been a volunteer at Animal Care and Control for 9 years. I'm at the shelter 2 to 4 days a week and spend about 50 hours per month there, and I see firsthand what the urgent needs are. I spend my time with dogs, so my testimony will be dog-focused, but the shelter also cares for cats, rabbits, guinea pigs, birds, and more. Animal Care and Control has been understaffed for many years. Current employees are still working well beyond acceptable workload limits. Customer service suffers, as do the valuable programs the shelter is supposed to provide to county residents. Each year we ask for additional staff, I know, but keep in mind we do not ask for all the needs, we ask for the most immediate needs. So until we have a shelter adequate in size and staffing for a county with our population, we will continue to come to these town halls to advocate for the employees of and the animals in the county shelter. Today I ask for you to add a community engagement position. Post-COVID, the shelter seems to be at or near capacity for dogs all year round. It has 58 kennel spaces. As of this past Sunday, we had 101 dogs in our care. How? Our foster homes are saving lives, but this is not sustainable. Pre-COVID, capacity would fluctuate throughout the year, and we would have some days or weeks where the shelter was not full. That time is long gone, and we need to address the community's needs before pets arrive. I would like to see a new position dedicated to reducing the number of animals coming into the shelter. Someone who, for example, would connect with citizens, explain the shelter's programs, promote the importance of spay-neuter to decrease pet overpopulation. Someone who would engage with citizens before they have no other option but to surrender the pet to us. As a shelter volunteer, I do not know the specifics of what the police department has requested for Animal Care and Control, but I do know that I support whatever they have requested and respectfully ask that you do as well. We are at crossroads and need to educate the public about our programs, provide assistance to our residents to reduce shelter intake, and increase our live release rate. The shelter services to the community are disintegrating under the sheer volume of demands. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Josh. My wife Jennifer and I are District 1 residents here and longtime volunteers at Arundel County Animal Care Control. It's been noted at these budget town halls that everyone is here to ask the county to pay for worthy projects, and we're going to do that too. But first, I'd like to tell you a bit about how much we can save the county, or how much we do save the county, thanks to the shelter's volunteers. I am actually the treasurer of Friends of Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control. Please speak up, yeah. And the nonprofit created by shelter volunteers to help us homeless pets. Last year alone, we spent $140,000 on shelter-related expenses. A large portion of this paid for specialized surgeries or emergency vet care for badly injured homeless pets that the shelter could not pay for. Without us, these animals would have actually died. The critical surgeries We use the bulk of our remaining funds to buy testing and surgical equipment to upgrade the shelter's own vet clinic. In addition, the last year, 84 volunteers contributed 1,852 hours to the shelter, the equivalent of almost 11 full-time employees working for free. Over 200 foster families have cared for 680 animals this past year. Jennifer and I foster quite a few animals ourselves. Let's see. Every day these pets spent away from the shelter save the county the cost of housing, feeding, and cleaning them. Overseeing us all is a single shelter employee, Christina Lopez, whose name you're well familiar with by now. Her current job also includes getting hundreds of animals to rescues every year and organizing public events. She's full of ideas to make the shelter better, but she's stretched as thin as a human can get without snapping. At other shelters our size, 3 or 4 employees would handle the positions to spread out her, would handle the tasks that Christina does by herself. We are asking you to add 2 more positions to spread out her responsibilities. We also ask for an additional veterinary technician so that the shelter can again offer free spay and neuter surgeries to the pets of lower income county residents. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Stivers. I've been a volunteer with Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control for about 7 years. Thank you for your support. Citizens often comment on our cat room cages that have portals that you guys helped us with, one of several ways you have helped. Mostly I just want to remind everybody what Animal Care and Control provides to the constituents of this district and the county at large. In asking for a new shelter and more staff, it may not be overtly apparent that Arundel County Animal Care and Control serves much more of a purpose than just rehoming unwanted animals. Even non-pet owners benefit from the services provided, such as them getting attacked by an animal and us responding, determining if that animal has been rabies vaccinated, determining if further public safety action is warranted, or even if there's a wild bat inside of your house and you don't know who else to call, one of our officers would respond and inform you of rabies exposures, risks, and protocols, and take the bat. So Animal Care and Control is integral in making the county the best place for all. They work with city and county police and sheriff's offices and fire departments to take animals into protective custody following owner emergencies, to support the health department regarding rabies exposures, liaises with Office of Planning and Zoning regarding code enforcement, such as hens or roosters on unauthorized lots or for animal hoarding situations, to liaise with county district attorney's office to pursue charges regarding neglect and abuse of animals, and also collect holiday donations for pets of citizens served by the Housing Authority. So please prioritize Animal Care and Control's current budget request and begin a capital improvement project for a new shelter because the whole county depends on it.
I'm taking this in a different direction. My name's Dion Meinhardt. I'm addressing the impact of the proposed swim center in the province's park and suggesting an option. We bought our home in the provinces 32 years ago, a home that backs up to the province's park. I watched the county yank out acres of trees to put in the playing fields and walking trail. The county officials at that time listened to our concerns and worked with the park neighbors to create a beautiful green space. If DPR, and when I say you, that's what I'm talking about, build a swim center in the park, we will live with the consequences for the rest of our lives. We will have years of noisy construction to endure, more traffic, more air and light pollution. Walking in the park will be ugly. After construction is completed, we will have the bliss of walking around a huge commercial Costco-sized building in view from every angle on the walking path. The traffic study only looked at the cars going into and out of the park, yet hundreds of cars drive along Disney every day and most of them never go into the park. We have no guarantee that you won't make improvements and additions to the existing swim center. I predict that you will decide your planned 200 parking spaces aren't enough, but 800 will be. Who knows what other facilities you will add to improve the park. The survey points out Province's Park as the best site. There is one more site to evaluate along 175 and Reese Road, bordered by Reese Road and Jackson Grove Road. 40 years ago, there were military houses on the site which have since been torn down. That site is easily accessible from 175. It does have some trees. In your study, you list tree removal as a negative. The county is right now allowing thousands of homes to be built in West County in heavily wooded areas. Walking and biking access is available along 175 for the site I suggest. This area is close to Meade High, Meade Middle, Arundel High School, and the elementary schools, which means it could support swim teams and the county drown-proofing program. You could make a case to Fort Meade officials and to our congresspeople to allow the county to lease that property for a West County swim center. Please keep our green space and playing fields in the province's park. Thank you.
One quick announcement. Thank you all. Delegate Gary Simmons joined us, so thank you for being here tonight. Just wanted to give him a shout out. He is in the back. All right, moving along. May I have John Meinhardt, Oz Marlowe, Sylvia Poor, and Rick Hall please line up behind the microphone. I'm sorry, what's your name? Okay. Thank you. How about John Meinhardt? Okay. Rick Hall. All right. Edward Kaylock. Jonathan Max Somer.
And just for clarity, as these speakers come down, my thoughts and feelings on Province Park has not changed from last year. It is my intention and desire to keep Province Park a park. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rick Hall. I am the robotics sponsor at Lindale Middle School, along with Mr. Wilson, who's here with me. I wanted to talk about the upcoming budget, and really wanted to impress the importance of making sure that we provide funding for robotics, because right now there's really none. 2 years ago, we qualified for state for the first time. It was our first year in competitive robotics. We also qualified for the World Tournament in Dallas, Texas. I spent my entire spring break basically begging tech companies to donate. We raised $10,000 so that we could take a group of kids down to Texas, because our school is a majority free and reduced lunch program school. If I have to ask these parents to pay for the kids to go, a lot of kids aren't going to get to go. Last year, we qualified 2 teams for Worlds. I spent the entire spring break raising $17,000. This year, school started, and I was told we get 1 bus for 1 tournament. So the budget actually decreased for robotics. We have 60 students coming to our class after school every Tuesday and Thursday. A normal club at Lindale has about 15 to 20. We've got 1 team that qualified for state. We competed this last weekend in PG County at their very first tournament. We won first place in team, we won first place in robot skills, we won second place in team, and we won the sportsmanship award. Our kids are working hard. They come in every single morning. They work for about an hour. They come in during their lunch. They come in after school. They come up, they take the robots home over the weekend. These kids are dedicated. The only thing I cannot provide them right now is funding. So I'm just asking, when you guys start considering the budget, and I know they're adding athletics, we really need to take a look at robotics as well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Max Somer, Director at Large of the Province's Civic Association, and I wish I could say that I'm pleased to be here tonight, but I can't. Last year, the communities around Province's Park and the kids and families who depend on it overwhelmingly protested the construction of West County Swim Center there. 1,200 county residents, including so many around the park that if you plot them on a map, you can't see the park itself, signed a petition against building there. Almost 300 showed up in person at the first public meeting to protest. Also the only public meeting, by the way. The County Council listened, and thank you, Pete, for your unwavering support, and unanimously voted to get the swim center out of Province's Park, with concurrence from the county executive, who submitted the amendment to do so. Yet here we are again. DRP did another sham study, rigged to give them an excuse to bulldoze Province's park. They kept it secret, again, to avoid giving us the opportunity to organize resistance. They even stalled us in discussions about future improvements to the park, which we now know was an attempt to avoid tipping us off. This is not how good government works. Mr. Pittman, you promised to put communities first, and this is the opposite. Our communities overwhelmingly voiced their opposition to this. I truly hope that you were not part of this deception and that this attempt to do a second end run around us happened without your knowledge, and that you will personally put an end to it, and that your budget this year won't attempt to ruin the best green space in West County. And just in case you've forgotten how deeply and personally this hurts our community, I brought you another copy of our petition with 1,200 county signatures and hundreds of personal comments, letters, and appeals to your decency and heart. Thank you.
Mr. Pittman, Edward Kalock. I'm in Arundel Gardens here in District 1. We spoke a couple times. My question is zoning. What can you do about zoning? We have an growing industrial park that's splitting our neighborhood in half. The road access to the park, to the industrial park, runs alongside a recreational park for kids. The playground is right across the street. Is there some way it can be relocated so that we can be a full residential community? That's all I'm asking.
Thank you, sir. All right, the next few people, Kim Cardosa, Jessica Roth, Ashani Gandhi, and Karen Carabani, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Ashani Gandhi, and I'm a member of the Library Board of Trustees and a resident of Hanover. I want to thank both of you for your tremendous support of our libraries, especially our last year's historic increase in salary adjustments. I joined the Board of Trustees back in 2022 to give back to the library system that played a significant role in shaping my view of the world. Over the years, I've seen the library stand the test of time as a place of warmth and comfort for its patrons. I'm testifying this evening in support of the library's budget, but specifically to ask both of you to consider our top two supplemental requests, the final installment for market rate adjustments for incredibly dedicated library staff, as well as additional funding for our kindergarten readiness initiative. Outside of maintaining a collection of books and books and movies, our libraries provide services such as free job training, tutoring, digital access, such as our Chromebook giveaway going on right now, as well as gun locks. All of these services would not be possible without our wonderful staff, who create this welcoming environment for every patron that walks through the door. Currently, more than 3/4 of our staff aren't at salary levels similar to their peers in Baltimore County or PG County. As such, our primary request is that we not only acknowledge, but also appropriately value their exceptional service and dedication through financial compensation. Additionally, our libraries hosted over 6,000 programs in the last year, one of which is the Kindergarten Readiness Initiative. Our second request for funding is to expand this Readiness Initiative program to county residents who not only provide, to county residents who are not able to have transportation to a branch, as well as make strides towards our goal of dedicated staff position in each of our library branches. I appreciate your consideration and support for these requests so we can continue to support our libraries as pillars of growth in our communities. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim Cardosa, and I'm sorry, I'm not as prepared as everybody else, but I just wanted to come and say that I grew up in this area and moved away and then came back to help take care of some elderly parents. And I work in healthcare, and I've treated people from this community a lot. And one thing that I found, and you have said this in your reports, that this part of the county has some of the highest crime, some of the highest drug use, some of the highest poverty, and like a high population. But I feel like in general, it lacks like community resources when it comes to healthcare that is in the community, not say the hospital or the emergency room, but places where people could go that's in their community that they would trust, like the senior center, the community center, that would offer resources to help them find the things that are available for them, not just in healthcare, but in job searching, drug rehab, and things like that. So I think that is something that should be considered when we look in the budget, and also with the development of the Brooklyn Park Community Center. I think it would be a good thing to fund and to give people resources that just really don't know where to go, which would then help the community overall. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Roth. I am a mom of 2 Hilltop Elementary students. I have also been a teacher in Anne Arundel County for 17 years. Right now I'm working at Chesapeake Bay Middle's regional program. I'm coming to you tonight because I want to advocate for you to fully fund and maybe even exceed the budget that Dr. Bedell is going to see before you. I haven't spoken up before. I am very lucky. My partner has a federal job and I have not really felt the pinch that other educators have, but my coworkers have, and I want to share some of the things that I've learned from what they do. One of my coworkers used to work as a waitress after school. She still had difficulty finding a place that could meet her financial needs for rent, and eventually she moved back to New York, where she could actually live with her parents and make a decent living. I have another coworker who's a new father. He doesn't have just one roommate, he has 2 roommates in order to make his mortgage. And he is here in District 1. Probably not here tonight because he's with his kid, but you know. I have another coworker whose husband is also a teacher in the county, and they are constantly struggling financially to figure out how to make their ends meet. Finally, I know yet another teacher who works 2 jobs, not full-time, but he works all day in Anne Arundel County and then goes adjunct for the community college. And he lives across the bridge on the Eastern Shore because that's where cost of living is cheaper and where he can afford to live. I use these stories to highlight the needs of educators in the county. We need to support our teachers to make it possible for them to continue living and working here in the county. We need to keep up with the other counties' COLA. We need to make ourselves competitive. I know other counties are starting to lose teachers and cut positions, and we can't afford to do that here in Anne Arundel County. At Chesapeake Bay Middle School, I know there are several classes with already over 35 students in them. We can't afford to cut funding now, and we can't afford to lose more teachers or positions. Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilman Smith. My name is Karen Carabani, and I'm a 40-year resident of Anne Arundel County. I grew up in Crofton, and right before I started high school, my family purchased a home in Severn. I then graduated from boarding school out of the county. I spent a lot of my young adulthood in Severn raising my kids as well. When it came time for me to purchase my home and settle in Brooklyn Park, the only place I could afford. But that is not why I'm here. On November 22nd, 2023, I watched a presentation to the County Council about the state of education in Anne Arundel County. I listened as they stated we were the 3rd wealthiest county in Maryland, about our special education endorsement and how our teacher salaries are beginning to rank higher. Congratulations. But I also listened that it stated how we struggle with challenges and equality and diversity, but then offered no solution. I live and continue to live in this struggle. Regardless of the time that I dedicate to my community, my children continue to be profiled when it comes to our educational rights, subsequently due to the area we reside in. As a parent of children who had or are receiving either a 504 or IEP, which is developed in 2 separate districts of the county, I can and will continue to speak loudly on this topic of inconsistencies and district disenchantment. As a parent of while a presentation stated also that Anne Arundel County has offered pay incentives for teachers underperforming districts, it has not recruited and retained teachers with the knowledge of Anne Arundel County's history of redlining, not just the Black community, but the less affluent ones as well, and how it affects the education and in turn positive contributions to the whole county, because I refuse to believe we just don't care. As also stated by the Health Department during the council meeting, there is a 15-year less life expectancy for those living in Brooklyn Park than anywhere else in the same county. In conclusion, award-winning Plan 2040 demands we find a solution, not just entertain ideas. I am not necessarily asking for more money for education, as I am aware that half of the budget goes, but I'm here asking that we make it a priority to close the educational gap from one district to another by any means necessary. Thank you for understanding.
Thank you. All right, Cynthia Williams, Barbara Masheri, Drew Martin, and Martha Blacksell.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Drew Martin, and I've been on the Non-Represented Employee Committee for over 20 years. There are over 1,100 non-rep employees in 21 departments. Those are employees that are not in a union in the county. I want to first thank you for providing the non-rep employees with merit and COLA raises that were equitable with the unions the last 2 fiscal years. This is a welcome change, and we really appreciate it. I am concerned today with the budget slide showing non-discretionary increases, which includes negotiated pay for about 75% of county employees, those who are in unions, and the non-rep employees that are listed under operational increases to consider. We've not been treated as equals over time, and it is further demonstrated in this presentation. We need to fundamentally change the process so that non-rep employee pay raises are not considered, but are guaranteed to be equitable with unions every year, regardless of the administration. Non-rep employees have had no pay raise in 6 of the last 21 fiscal years, 28% of the time. Most, if not all, other county work groups, the unions, have been caught up from lost wages. Multiple administrations have caused this problem. Multiple administrations have said that this should be addressed, but we need action, not words. If we were to show the pay raises that each county work group received over a period of 21 fiscal years, we would have a very hard time recruiting anyone to work as a non-represented employee. I have talked with far too many non-rep employees that have loved working for the county, but they can't afford to stay. There is too much competition for good employees, and we are not competitive. Employee turnover is expensive, and we are wasting money. In every budget town hall meeting for years, we hear that employee pay has not kept up. The libraries need competitive pay, the teachers need competitive pay, the police need competitive pay, the fire department needs competitive pay, and the non-rep employees need competitive pay. It takes bold leadership to step up and do the right thing. As Westmore and Stuart Pittman have said, leave no one behind. And let's make Anne Arundel County the best place for all. We need to demonstrate that these slogans are not just words, but principles we believe in. Thank you.
My name is Martha Blacksall, and I am here representing the Anne Arundel County Public Library Foundation, of which I am both a board member and the treasurer of the foundation. And like my colleague who spoke a few minutes ago, I want to put in a good word for the library, and I want to thank you all, because last year at this same budget session, I put in a plea for $2 million supplemental, and we very much appreciated the ability of the county to respond and increase the salaries of our employees. Everyone knows what a wonderful job the libraries in Anne Arundel County do. Everyone knows how many people benefit, from the smallest kid to the oldest person like me. And I want to thank you for your continuing support. What we need now is for you to look very carefully at our request for about $1.4 billion to a supplemental request to increase our budget again in this coming fiscal year, so that we can raise all of our employees to the level that they should be at, and can continue to maintain a wonderful environment for all of Anne Arundel County residents. Thank you very much. We look forward to your continued support.
Possible to put this in here and talk with my hands. Okay, we got it. Can you hear me? Thank you. My name is Barbara McSherry. I'm talking for School Health Services. I wanted you to sort of rethink what your thoughts are about school health services. We all have these preconceived ideas. For me, our school health services are our first responders in our school. 30% of our students in our school are medically challenged. That's a lot. They have a right to be in the school, and we need the school health services to be able to take care of them. Something that we don't talk about as much is our school health services are also on call for, these are just some actual things that happened. A teacher fell on the ice and broke a wrist. A Board of Ed employee came to a meeting at the school, tripped and fell on a curb, lacerated his head. A custodian sliced a tool through his hand. A teacher had a seizure in a classroom. A teacher was lightheaded and dizzy. Another teacher was unable to speak, was having some kind of episode. An administrator had very low blood sugar. A grandmother was unconscious in front of the school. A grandfather tripped and fell while he was visiting for a school performance. An HVAC worker was on the roof and got sick. A runner was just passing by the front of the school and fainted and had some kind of episode. All of these episodes were attended to by what I call your first responders in the school. They're not just caring for our very sick children, which we have very sick children in our schools. I gotta go fast. But in addition to that, any medical event on the school campus, they are attending to. They truly are first responders. I think they deserve the respect of at least having a competitive salary, competitive with other jurisdictions. They're drastically underfunded. I think they need to be fully funded. There's 60% turnover. 60%, if that was your business, and you had 60% turnover, we would say, what a failure. It is our business. This is our business. This is our money going into this. 60% is ridiculous. What's going on? What are we failing at? What are we doing wrong? We have to address this. We have to look at this. This is wasting our taxpayer monies by having this turnover, re-recruiting, retraining, losing them to the Board of Ed, who pays better and has a better job. It's not a contract worker job. Also to other counties who pay better. What are we doing to lose our people? Let's keep and retain our people. We have really great workers who just can't afford to stay with us. It's an important job.
Ma'am, would you please
These
conclude
are
your
our first
comments?
responders. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Williams from Severn. First, I'm going to put on my hat of President of Western District Police Community Relations Council. And Mr. Pittman, I thank you for your weekly letter entitled, Do We Have Enough Cops? Because we definitely need more cops. We can talk about a whole lot of issues affecting a whole lot of people in the county, but if you're not safe, then everything else takes a back seat. I understand, pardon me, that some of our PACT officers in several of our districts, which is police and community together, PACT, are being transferred to traffic enforcement and patrol because we need coverage in those areas, and of course that's understandable. However, the PACT officers are important to the community. They build relationships between the police and the people of the community, and that's also an important job. Secondly, I would like to put on my other hat, President of the Province's Civic Association in Severn, and mention once again the West County Swim Center. I know I've spoken to both of you before about it. So at the Rex and Parks community meeting on Monday, they came out publicly and said they want to put the swim center in Provinces Park. Well, they didn't exactly say that, but but the overwhelming rating for the Provinces Park as the location versus the other sites. Off the record, Rex and Parks are telling people that it's going in Provinces Park. So I would ask that this be stressed to Rex and Parks. You know, we've been working on this for over a year.
Would you please conclude your comments?
Oh, already?
Yeah.
Darn. I was just getting started.
You can always email that, budget-comments@aacounty.org. Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, we're going to move on to Sharon Devlin, AJ Gardner, Michael Silliman, and Jacob Greer.
And as they come up, just officially on the record, and I'll continue to say this, school nurses should be county employees. They should have a pension. We should invest in them just like we do other public school educators because they are part of that network that make our school system a great system. So just wanted to put that on the record.
Before you begin, just a quick note that Delegate Rogers is here. Is he here in the back somewhere? There he is, Delegate Rogers. Thank you for joining us tonight.
All right. Good evening. My name is Sherry Devlin. I'm a resident of District 5, but I was born and raised in District 1. And I'm here tonight to ask the county to begin the process of building a new animal care and control facility. Our facility was built almost 25 years ago as essentially a euthanasia facility, because then the county policy was that no animal would be there for more than 5 days. After that, they were killed, whether they were homeless, unredeemed pets, or strays. It didn't matter that the facility was a warehouse because no animal was going to stay there for more than 5 days anyway. Thankfully, that policy's changed, and there's no limit to how long an animal can remain at the shelter. We recently celebrated adoptions of dogs that were there for 132 days and 145 days. And our own dog, a large pit bull mix, spent almost 4 months at the shelter before coming home with us last June. Coupled with this policy change is the fact that our county's pet population has increased more than 28% since the facility was built. That means more clients for our already overcrowded shelter, which is a decrepit facility. It's loud, it's frightening for animals, and it doesn't come close to meeting national standards. Staff and volunteers work tirelessly to make an unbearable situation tenable. In fact, last year, we donated more than 20,000 volunteer hours. If you use the national calculator, that equates to a gift of $700,000 to the county. The purple shirts are here. We're going to do everything we can to make life better for our county animals, but it's time for the county to step up. The facility that we have now is a disservice to our animals. It's an embarrassment to our county. It needs to be replaced, and I respectfully ask that doing so be a top priority. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Pittman, Mr. Smith, and all of our neighbors. My name is AJ Gardner. I sit on the board of directors for the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. I've been a police officer for 28 years. I started in 1995, just after the riots in LA. So I've been around for a little bit. I've had the pleasure of working in Northern District, Southern District, gangs, robbery, CID, and I've had a pretty good run at it. I'm not done yet. When I came on, it was John Gary, then Janet Owens, John Leopold, a brief stint with Laura Newman, and then Steve Shue, and now this administration. Those prior executives really didn't do us any favors when it came to the police department. Our county grew, our police department often shrunk. I certainly has not kept the pace with the expansive growth of our county. If you ride through Western District alone, you see it. The county has gotten a bargain on the backs of police officers who risk their lives to protect our communities each and every day. Each year, the police officers have warned each and every county executive, to include the county councils, and it's been to no avail. We told John Leopold, that debacle, that we were not compensating our officers enough, and we had too many vacancies. His solution was just to cut the vacancies. We just don't have the police officers, just gonna cut it. Steve Shue added back many of those positions, but he forced our salary and benefits to stagnate and regress. So he didn't have any police officers to actually fill those positions either. It makes it hard to recruit when we don't put the money there. At the beginning of your administration, we did get a pay bump, resulted in a hiring bump as well. But evenly staffed, we were hundreds of officers short. We still are. 62 of them just got transferred back to the road. That's a loss of services. Detectives who had the skill sets that are now being put on the road because we don't have enough road officers. I'll say this, it's unfortunate that our biggest impediment to hiring has been the bureaucracy of this county. and we need to invest in it. I won't finish my comments because my time is done. We need to start doing something. It's happened, and now we're at the point where we can't do very much. That's going to cost lives.
Good evening, Executive Pittman, Councilmember Smith. My name is Michael Silliman. I sit on the Board of Directors for the Fraternal Order of Police as well. I'm a lifelong resident of Anne Arundel County. I'm a detective in Anne Arundel County Police Department. I'm a crisis intervention trained officer. I'm a crisis negotiation trained officer, and I'm a member of the Anne Arundel County Police Department's peer support team. The officers in this department are much like myself and take on many tasks within the department to address the staffing shortages. The officers and individuals taking time out of their day to express concern towards public safety is concerning. I expect it to be concerning to you, and I expect it to be concerning to the public. Our leaders are making decisions now to make sure that essential functions within the police department are able to remain and we're able to function with them. We continue to hear comparisons to other local agencies, and if we constantly compare ourselves to other local agencies and jurisdictions that are also failing to have the same police staffing coverage, then we are going to continue to have that problem. I recently had a conversation with a few community members who are nearing the optimal age for hire as police officers, but they are concerned with the projected path of policing and the comparative salaries offered by the private sector. Those jobs offer great work schedules, competitive pay, and they don't have to deal with public outcry for just doing their job. They don't have to deal with the physical danger or the emotional risk that the job takes. We obviously can't ask the county to make changes to a national issue surrounding police perspective, but we do have an opportunity to assist in the retention and acquisition of officers in Anne Arundel County.
Would you please conclude your
But it
remarks?
starts now. Years from now, with no action, the problem will only be compounded. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jacob Greer. I'm an active member of the Fraternal Order of Police, and I've been a police officer for 17 years. I'm currently signed to our traffic safety section. You might think that my job would have something to do with conducting proactive traffic law enforcement to discourage reckless or dangerous driving, but that generally is not what we do. My primary duty while assigned to the traffic safety section was as a crash investigator. Our team is responsible for investigating fatal crashes. In fact, our traffic safety unit has no proactive enforcement element. Unlike other major agencies which have units specifically dedicated to traffic enforcement to reduce crashes and make roads safer, our agency's traffic safety officers only come after the crash. We simply have never had the staffing in our agency to accomplish what so many other jurisdictions are able to do with higher staffing. My friends in the homicide unit get a lot of the attention, but they only investigated 15 deaths last year. In contrast, our traffic safety officers investigated 34 traffic-related deaths on our roadways. Our traffic safety unit is one of the most specialized assignments in police work. It requires knowledge and training that has a heavy focus on math and science. We have to understand concepts like momentum, kinetic energy, friction, material sciences, and physiology. We have to be able to use computers to create calculations and reconstructions. We are our own CSI technicians. We measure, collect evidence, photograph, and analyze all evidence for a crash. These are advanced skills. You don't find these skills anywhere, and many of the officers that attend these training programs are unsuccessful in completing them. Across our agency, you will find officers who are a wealth of knowledge, training, and experience. It takes a year to train an officer to do the most basic police function. It takes a career to make us experts. Respectfully, Mr. Pittman, when you hire a police officer, you are hiring a professional. We don't compensate our officers like other professional trades. It's no wonder we find ourselves in such a staffing crisis. Because of our historically low staffing, the current crisis is hitting the county sooner and harder than many other jurisdictions. We need to look at what we are asking our police professionals and ensure that we're providing just compensation for the great and difficult work that they do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Councilman Smith, County Executive Pittman. My name is Mark Ass. I'm the Vice President of the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. Mr. County Executive, you know that now, more than ever, we need your help. You and all the citizens of this county are proud of the work our officers do day in and day out. We are holding the line. Despite our staffing problems, our crime rate remains far below our neighboring jurisdictions. But we have been operating on overtime for far too long. No agency can be stretched so thin and continue to perform at these levels forever. How do we solve this problem? 3 ways. Number 1, hold on to the officers we have. They have vast amounts of professional and institutional knowledge that we need to pass along to future generations of police officers. We believe that you understand the scope and gravity of the problem. We cannot delay. We must act decisively and definitively now to make sure our police department will be successful for the future generations of Anne Arundel County residents. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mike Shire. I'm a board member of Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. I've been a police officer for 19 years and 363 days. Yeah, we count. For years, I've placed my life in danger to protect my community. I've missed holidays with my family. I've had to tell them I'm sorry. I have to work late. You heard my story the other day at the Capital Gazette in June of 2018. That was a hard day for me. It was a hard day for a lot of our officers. It was a terrible day for my family who was unable to reach me, knowing that something horrible was happening. We've talked to you at these town halls and told you how hard we work, how that affects our lives, the pain, both physical, mental, and emotional, that we suffer through. But we're not the only county residents that suffer. Our families and friends are along with us. They stand by us. They're the ones who wait patiently for us to come home. They hide their disappointment when we have to miss special events. They support us and uplift us. They are an essential part of our lives. They are county citizens who share our pain. I remember once having to come home from work in the middle of the day. I had helped push a car out of a ditch. The driver had floored the gas pedal, and I got coated from head to toe in fresh, wet mud. It was my spouse who met me at the door with towels and plastic bags. I hurried to wash off and change my uniform so I could get back to work. She stayed home, scrubbing the mud off our floor and getting my dirty uniform clean. We don't do this job alone. Our friends and family are the silent servants of this county. But for too many of our officers and their families, it has been too much to bear. They cannot adequately support their families as a police officer. The rewards are not worth the sacrifice. And so they leave our department or they leave our noble profession. We've heard it time and time again. They say, I can no longer do this job. It's too hard on my family. The burden is falling heavier and heavier on the shoulders of those who remain. It is crushing us. I was relieved last week when I read your newsletter. We appreciate that you recognize publicly and boldly that we are in danger of collapsing under the weight we bear. I sincerely hope that your words are matched by your actions. Legislation is pending. A budget is being crafted. There are things we can do now. We look forward to success. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. And you've heard it a couple times tonight, but if you're wondering what this weekly letter thing is, if you go to aacounty.org/weekly letter, you can sign up to receive that to your inbox. So shameless plug right there. But we're going to keep it moving along tonight. The next couple folks who are going to be called up to the mic: Gina Stewart, Leah Paley, Brian Daig, and Brian Holtzlander.
Good evening. My name is Gina Stewart. I'm the Executive Director of the BWI Business Partnership, which is a nonprofit business organization of approximately 200 business members focusing on transportation, economic, and workforce development, located right here in District 1. I'd like to thank County Executive Pittman and Councilman Pete Smith for this opportunity to speak this evening. First off, we'd love to thank you for the support of our local development council projects, such as our roadside beautification, which picks up over 40 tons of trash within a 3-mile radius, which a lot is in this area, Reese Road, Disney Road, and et cetera. So thank you. And our free County Connector shuttle, which provided free transit for close to 85,000 passengers in FY23. So we hope that you will continue to fund us in those projects in the FY25 budget. But we'd also like you to consider funding more transportation within the county's budget. Providing transportation to underserved communities and no-car households are really essential to providing a more diverse and inclusive community that provides more access to jobs, healthcare, shopping, etc., making the county a more healthy place to live. And then lastly, we'd like to thank you also for the continued support of BWI Marshall Airport. Given the partnership of the airport and the county as its host jurisdiction, it employs approximately 12,000 Anne Arundel County citizens, and the tax revenue that the airport produces for the county and the state is not something that should be overlooked. They provide close to $782.5 million in state and local tax revenue, which is a combination of airport and visitor-generated funds. When the airport succeeds, the county succeeds. And BWI Marshall Airport is an important piece of why the county is such an appealing place for businesses and residents to locate. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leah Paley, and I'm the CEO of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Thank you for the opportunity to provide input about the budget. I'm here to strongly urge the county to include $1.5 million in funding for the Anne Arundel County Food Bank in the FY25 budget. And what I'd like to do this evening, I've been to all of these, so I'm trying to give you something new, is talk about District 1 and the need here in District 1 and our prioritization on communities like many of the zip codes in District 1. And I would like to share this because I don't have everything memorized, that within our county, we have 8 zip codes where poverty is highly concentrated. Half of these zip codes are in District 1. Brooklyn Park, Glen Burnie, Curtis Bay. All 4 of these zip codes have poverty rates that exceed the county average of 5.64%. And our food bank provides free food and basic necessities to groups operating pantries at 15 locations within these zip codes. And across District 1, 23 locations received over 73,000 supports of service from the food bank. So 73,000 individual instances of assistance within District 1. We need continued support so that we can meet the need. I know you both are very familiar with our mobile pantry, which we launched in September, and it has been to Brooklyn Park 4 times now. We've helped a total of 250 households with food and supplies at those distributions, and we look forward to continuing to do that. So in order to continue our work in Anne Arundel County, and especially in District 1, we need funding so that we can provide free food and so that we are not forced to charge our network partners. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your consideration. Oh, and I have a handout for that.
Good evening. My name is Brian Degg. My role, I'm in the board chair of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank, and Leah is a tough act to follow. But the reason I'm here is to thank you for the $1.38 million in ARPA funding for this current fiscal year, and to ask you to add in that $1.5 million for fiscal year next year. The need in the county remains high. Leah cited specifics for this area. There's need all over the county, and I think many residents of Anne Arundel County in certain areas have no earthly idea how much need there is. And for people that I know that live outside of Anne Arundel County and other states close by, they hear Annapolis and they think wealth. And my role as a board member for the past 4.5 years, and now the board chair, I take every opportunity I can to educate people about the need that exists in our county. I became involved with the food bank. All my kids are in public school. I do not live in this district. I live in District 7, but I can't make it to that meeting because I was gone and visiting them at school and watching what kids had for lunch. And gummy bears and chocolate milk and Doritos can't really prosper you with what you're trying to learn. And I wanted to give back to the community. It's a privilege to serve in the role that I serve. I'm very thankful for everything that you, County Executive Pittman, and you, Councilmember Smith, have provided for us. And I urge you to continue to support us because it's meaningful, good work. And I thank you very much.
Brian Holtzlander, representing the Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters. It's great to be here in District 1. District 1 is a vibrant and often kinetic community and always one of my favorite places to work. District 1 represents obviously some of our highest population density and some of our highest concentration of fire and traumatic injuries. And while every emergency represents a tragedy, I have seen the incredible resilience of this community. And like I said, it's always been a special place to work. We are proud to serve alongside and with each and every one of you to make this truly the best place. And in support of that aspiration, I'm here to sound the alarm about an approaching critical deficit in our paramedics. Now, I want to define paramedic because it is different than your entry-level firefighter, EMT. It is a collegiate-level medical education on par with a nursing degree. We are responsible for the life and death decisions when a person drops or a child is at the bottom of a pool. We are responsible for calculating the medications that are put into your veins and the electricity that is put into your body. We breathe for you when you can't breathe, and we pump the blood when your heart stops. It's a good job, but it's a heavy one, and it's one that fewer and fewer people and kids in high school and college are choosing to do. So we need to do bold things now to reimagine how we recruit and retain paramedics, or we will not have enough in the future. We need to re-examine what we do because what we're doing currently is not working. I want to close by recognizing that County Executive Pittman and Councilman Smith have hired entry-level firefighter EMTs, and that has been essential. But they are not paramedics, and that is different. So we need a new model that recruits and retains paramedics, and we need it now. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Next up, Emily Tevolt, Susan Wheatley, Sandra Elliott, and Christina Corona.
Hello, I am Emily Tevolt. I am a teacher in District 1 at Linthicum Elementary School. And I want to talk to you a little bit about class size. I know this is a state issue, but I think that Anne Arundel County needs to prioritize advocating for smaller class size. I looked at the Blueprint website and I typed in class size and classroom size and nothing came up. Everything we want for our students needs smaller class sizes. Differentiation, relationship building, reduced behavioral issues, higher test scores, successful citizens in our world. It's a daunting task, but just as I challenge my students to reach their potential, I ask our county to tackle the root of the issue. One issue with tackling this is we don't have enough teachers now, so how in the world will we have smaller class sizes? Our class sizes have only gotten higher since I joined the county. I want you to imagine a room full of 27 first graders. They're 7. Next year, we're projected to be at 30. They won't even fit in my room. I'm a music teacher where we can move. I appreciate the increased funding, but we will not attract teachers when we ask them to work for less when you factor in the low COLA and significant health insurance expense increases that are currently being discussed. Stop spending so much money, and I know it's not directly your decision, on rewritten curriculum and failed learning management systems. Teachers are the ones who students learn from, trust, And remember, not their new math or reading curriculum. Thank you.
Good evening, Council Executive Pittman, County Executive Pittman, Council Member Smith. I'm Susan Wheatley, one of the 6 co-founders of Save Our Trees, now a program of the Anne Arundel County Watershed Stewards. We originated in 2022 to save our tree canopy from English ivy and other invasive vines that are strangling our forests. We've had phenomenal success focusing on these 3 guidelines. Take action, educate the public, and advocate for change. It's not hard to see the problem. Just look at the edges of our parks, our schools, our churches, farms, trails, roads, and highways. Invasive vines are destroying our mature trees and blanketing forest floors. These forests cleanse our air and water, mitigate the ever-increasing heat of summer, provide habitat to wildlife, and offer places of respite. And we are losing these trees at an alarming rate. Your constituents see the problem, and they are responding with action. This is what we're asking for: a coordinated, multi-pronged action plan to address the challenges of preserving and expanding our tree canopy and the serious threats posed by all invasive plants. Such an action plan should include sustainable long-term funding, since our woodlands require ongoing care, just as our highways need ongoing maintenance. It will also require funding for contractors in situations where volunteers cannot work. We also ask that the weed resistance volunteer coordinator become a full-time job. We recommend that the county consider additional staffing for this program so that the significant volunteer community in Anne Arundel County clearly concerned about invasives can be fully leveraged. From June 2022 to January 2024, we have held 56 events and saved over 3,040 trees because of hundreds of volunteers, and we want to support them. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Elliott, and I am a reentry specialist at Ordnance Rural Correctional Center. Alongside my partner, Mr. Miles Young, I'm one of 2 reentry specialists, and the esteemed leadership of Ms. Marsha Briley, CFA John Kelson, Superintendent Christopher Klein, and unwavering support from Delegate Gary Simmons. I am here. I'm new to corrections. However, I'm not new to people. And the reentry initiative is very dear to the Anne Arundel County. And I'm excited. I'm just going to speak from my heart just really quickly. I'm not a member or I guess a resident of Anne Arundel County, but working here within the county, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of, some of which would be your family members, your loved ones, maybe your neighbors who are incarcerated, those that are formerly incarcerated. The focus and need for reentry specialists and the reentry needs is very important. And it's something that I'm asking just continued support and focus. I know that we have the reentry hub that's going to be at Ordnance Rural Correctional Center. I'm excited about that. The excitement comes from this, and just really quickly, and I'll wrap it up. There is a need for services. A lot of times when people are incarcerated, once they leave, they're kind of like out there by themselves. And they're still humans, they're still people. A lot of times I find myself not calling them incarcerated because they're still a human being. It could be any one of us, let's be honest. All it takes is a choice, a decision, and 4 walls separate us from our decisions and our choices in life. So it takes a village, we always say, to raise a child, but there's ongoing need and support to be able to take care of those who are struggling with addiction, mental health services, and who just need that extra boost. So I'm excited to be a part of an initiative that's much bigger than myself, and just asking for continued support for all that we do. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Christina Corona. I'm a high school teacher who has taught for over 2 decades in this county. During that time, I've suffered from stagnant wages and inequitable salaries, and have seen too many of my fellow educators abandon this county for better paying ones, while others simply left the profession entirely. Fortunately, this county has been heading in the right direction. We now have county leaders who helped resolve those pay inequities. It was refreshing to hear our superintendent be honest and admit how embarrassing our salaries were, and then actually work to do something about it. Last year, with your help, County Executive Pittman, the school system was able to raise our starting teacher salaries from 19th in the state to 4th, and all employees received a 6% COLA, the largest in years. However, it seems that there's a perception that now all has been resolved, and this is simply not the case. Classroom teacher vacancies, after plateauing in the mid-90s during the fall, has risen to 113 vacancies as of today. While huge gains were made for starting salaries, salaries for those at the top step, year 25, have not received the same increases. Yes, there was the 6% last year, but besides that, for educators who have 30 and 40 years of experience, their pay has been essentially stagnant for many years. 1 year of gains does not instantly erase years of economic hurt. Memories are long, and veteran educators have been wounded. We, the veteran educators, are the ones who have stood with you, starting with your first election campaign, and have continued our support through this second term. We've not turned our back on you. Please do not turn our back on us. The school board will have the opportunity to amend Dr. Bedell's proposed budget this month. I urge you, Mr. Pittman, to work with our school board to ensure that they know the county government will fund a higher COLA than the 3% being proposed right now, which barely keeps up with inflation. Ultimately, if we want to serve our students best, then we need well-staffed schools with experienced educators who have the capacity to mentor our newer ones. You helped raise the starting salaries last year for beginning educators. Now is the time to raise salaries across the board for all educators. Show us that you value the retention of educators as much as you do our recruitment. Thanks.
Thank you for that. And just rounding out the folks who signed up to provide testimony tonight, and then we're going to open the floor for anyone else who would like to speak. Merrick Coate, Joe Adavinola, Millis Young, Linda Bonner, Sharice Seffen or Leffen, pardon me if I did not get that correct.
Hi, my name is Maria Cote, and County Executive Pittman, whoo, I am so glad I don't have your job. So you've heard from firefighters who need more. You've heard from the police who need more. You've heard from teachers. I'm a teacher. This is my 9th year, my 3rd career. You're lucky I'm not going anywhere. But there are plenty of teachers, as Ms. Roth said, who are working 2 and 3 jobs. I work 2 jobs. I work during the day at my school. I go to South River High School to work night school twice a week. There are teachers who do it 4 times a week. The other part is with, like the police officer said, retention and keeping experienced educators in the school system. Just a couple of points. On the unofficial Facebook page, every week 3 to 5 teachers are saying, how do I get out? They are willing to take a $3,000 to $8,000 cut. They will lose their summer pay, but they are willing to take that cut in order to get out now. So I don't know how you're going to do it, and I'm sorry I don't have any solutions, but I'm letting you know that teachers are bailing. They're bailing also to Prince George's County, who pays $20,000 extra a year to be nationally board certified, as opposed to Anne Arundel's $10,000. So just a couple of numbers, just to let you know how things stand in the trenches. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I want to just take a moment to express that I have the best job in the world. I work with individuals who have made choices that have put them in a position to where they are facing barriers and challenges that none of us face on a daily. I've been doing this job for almost 5 years, and I felt like I was alone. And when I talk about doing this job has provided expungements, it's provided job placement services, it's provided connection to community services, and to see that there's funding that has been set aside for the reentry hub to make sure that our individuals who have made poor choices get an opportunity, a second chance in life is huge. It's bigger than I can imagine. Then to have Ms. Briley come aboard to help strengthen and build and to give that support, along with Mr. Simmons, Mr. Smith, and of course, you, Mr. Pittman, to bring support to what we do in changing the lives of people who have lost hope and have given up and become the drag of society. It's a difference when these people can find jobs, can find people that believe in them, and to find a way that they can take care of their families and build a life and live a dream that is beyond their imagination, just because someone reached out and said, I believe you, I can work with you, and I can build with you. I thank you for establishing the funding for the Reentry Hub. I'm excited and anticipate your support in keeping it going. And I just want to thank you for this opportunity to help me continue to do the best job that I've ever had. Thank you.
Good evening, County Exec Pittman, Councilman Smith. My name is Joe Divinola, President of Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters, Local 1563. We operate in 31 stations in the county, in which we only meet the NFPA minimum staffing standards of 4 firefighters responding on an apparatus. Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Howard County, Montgomery County, and PG County all have 4 to 5 firefighters responding on their engines and trucks right now. Anne Arundel County has 2 stations right now going out the door with 2 firefighters on an apparatus. Councilman Smith, you asked our fire chief at the county council meeting how many firefighters she would need to meet minimum standards, and she replied close to 500 firefighters. This administration, just like previous administrations, had numerous chances to fix the staffing problem by applying the SAFER grant through the federal government, but just like previous administrations, you did not apply for this money that would cover wages for new firefighters for several years. Now, that cost of staffing this fire department has risen. In the capital budget, like building new fire stations to replace old decaying buildings has gone up. And our operational budget to build a new fire engine or truck has almost doubled in the last year. Right now, we have about 51 firefighters out on injury. Our members that do come to work are also injured, mainly because we do more with less. In our line of work, we all know that when we retire, we will have lifelong injuries and illnesses from this job. I'm at my 20-year mark, along with several other recruit classes, and I have multiple operations, broken bones, and I have more metal in my back than a 1960 Cadillac. My brothers and sisters on the job are broken too. They're worn out. We work a 24-hour shift, and since we have so many vacancies and members out on injury, many members are told at the end of 24 hours they have to stay another 24 hours. We cannot sustain the protection of our residents with this type of workload. This county has been very lucky not to lose a firefighter in a line of duty death recently.
Sir, would you
Overtime
please
is not
conclude
the
your
answer to
comments?
cover staffing. Even with many of our members doubling their salaries in overtime, the hours are not sustainable. This administration needs to do something, and needs
Sir,
to do
would you
something
please
very
conclude your
quick.
comments?
I'll wrap it up. Instead of bragging about triple bond ratings and funding a rainy day fund, you need to put your money where your mouth is when you started this job and staff the fire department.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Linda Hannafin Bonner, and I represent the Attainable Housing Committee of Anne Arundel Connecting Together. an organization concerned about affordable housing and whose members are representatives, our members are representatives of your constituents in your district. I would like to speak about the relationship of the county's housing crisis, specifically about the ability to maintain and attain affordable, moderate cost housing with the county's budget and its residents. It's well documented that the relationship of the county's housing crisis, specifically the ability to attain affordable, moderate cost housing with the budget, that affects all income levels, but particularly those that are below the average median income, which in Anne Arundel County is $108,000. Enacting legislation for inclusionary housing means that zoning categories within the county need to be addressed to enable an adequate supply of moderate cost housing options to occur, instead of favoring exclusionary and discriminatory practice of high-priced housing. It means changing outdated legislative practices in order to create inclusive communities for families of all generations and income levels to be able to afford a range of housing options that accommodate either their growing needs or downsizing in retirement. ACT will be holding a series of education forums by way of Zoom for the public to talk about how we begin as a community to address these housing crises. We have specific recommendations for you that we will submit in writing with how to address some of the budget items. And thank you for your time and your work.
I am Sherry Cephas. After listening to the other people speaking, I just wonder, why is it that people in service professions have to beg to be financially respected? I've taught almost 20 years, and I could not afford to purchase a home in the district, in the area where I graduated, and my parents still live, Broadneck High School's area. I echo what the other parent mentioned. I ask you to fully fund, but I ask you to fully fund the budget that you will get from the Board of Education, but I also directly ask you to directly increase the budget so that AECPS can attract and retain excellent employees who touch our most important commodity, our children. I ask for full funding and that targeted increase for all AACPS employees so that we can give our children the best opportunities no matter which district they live in. I am a parent who has 3, soon to be 4 AACPS students in Freetown and MacArthur. At the Board of Education proposal meeting, I learned our county is the 5th wealthiest, but we rank 15th in funding per pupil. A board member mentioned the word mediocre in her response. With the current budget, I will have to get another job, and I have colleagues who are looking to either leave the education or the district. I wish I could convince them to stay, but without affordable housing and lower pay than leaving education, I have nothing but kind words. I'm going to skip that. To conclude, I ask for you to look for, I live here, I'd be happy to pay more taxes. Please look for revenue increases so that people in service professions that have come here today can know that they're respected by the best place for all with financial respect.
Thank you. All right, so now we're going to, ooh, that's so much louder. Open the floor for anyone who has not spoken. If you would like to speak on something you have not heard someone else testify about tonight, please line up behind the microphone now. Please just start by saying your name and speaking directly into the microphone.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Shields. I'm a District 1 resident. I wasn't going to speak earlier. I clicked no on the thing, but nobody addressed this, so I figured I wanted to bring this up. Bring it back to your comments, Mr. Councilman Smith, regarding feeling safe when you walk out of your house. And I live right down the street, and what makes me not feel safe when I walk into my house is not some boogeyman stepping out of the shadows, it's the cars. We don't have sidewalks. So walking my dog, I worry about cars clipping me walking my dog. I don't even run around my neighborhood. I drive to the BWI trail, especially in winter because it gets dark and I worry about getting hit by a car because I don't have a sidewalk in my neighborhood to run around, at least not one long enough to, get a decent run around. So, and then, you can just drive out here on Baltimore-Annapolis Road. These kids coming here in North County, how do they get here? They walk along Baltimore-Annapolis Road, no sidewalk. Cars going 50 miles per hour on this road. Every day they're out there walking. I don't even have a kid, and I worry about them. So I think that should be a priority for the county. Sidewalks, especially in this area. I go to other parts of the county and I see Severn, Annapolis, and I'm like, wow, I wish we had the sidewalks that they have in this area. Residents can just walk for miles and not have to walk and worry about getting hit by cars, walk stable on sidewalks. So I think that should be a priority. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Marsha Briley. I am your reentry coordinator at Ordnance Road, and my fearless team. I just want to thank you for those kind words, but I also want to thank you. I know. Stewart and Pete and Delegate Simmons for your support, and I want to echo what my team said about the reentry hub. We are so grateful, and it is being looked at on a statewide level as the model. And I'm thankful that you all selected me to spearhead this, but I also want to make an interesting ask. I want to advocate for everyone that came up here today. I really need to advocate for all of them because the Reentry Hub is really going to be built on the pillars of our county services. And, I go to police ride-alongs. I am so touched by the animal shelter because when someone gets arrested and they have a pet with them, we were on our way down to the shelter to drop off a dog. So, everyone, the school system, the pipeline to prison with the children, if they don't get what they need, that happens. We have people, parents, aunts, uncles, caretakers over there at the detention center. And also, we also have to be mindful that we are not just serving the individuals that are being in our local jails. You have people coming from your state and federal prisons back to this county, and we work with them as well. So I just want to while you're looking at the budget, just be mindful of, when you're funding different things, even if you're funding another agency, just seeing how that feeds into the reentry, the operational budget of the Reentry Hub. That's it. Thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Logan Wilson. I am a 6th grade language arts teacher at Lindale Middle School. I'm actually here with my co-coach, Mr. Rick Hall. He got up here earlier and talked to you guys about the robotics program at Lindale. I am a very new teacher. This is only my 4th year teaching, but I have to stand with my colleagues here today. Teaching has become quite a battlefield nowadays. It's my 4th year, but I am one of the most veteran teachers at my school. To the point where brand new teachers are coming to me for advice, and half the time I am not even confident enough in my own advice that I'm giving them. Teachers are invested in their students, and teachers are invested in what brings their students joy and what brings them a sense of accomplishment. The robotics program at Lindale has only been a program within the past decade, and already we have been to 2 world championships in Texas, working with teams internationally from around the world, teams from Canada, teams from Korea. This is something that our students get invested in, and this is something that brings them a lot of passion and a lot of joy. So I would highly appreciate it if you guys consider that when you go to make this budget, but also extending the offer to anyone who actually wants to see what this is all about. Lindale is having their second tournament ever this Saturday from 9 to 3. So anybody who would like to come see what this is about, please feel free to join. So thank you guys.
Good evening. My name is Donna Williams. Originally, I didn't plan to speak today because I'm shy, but Councilman Smith mentioned public safety, and so I'm here again this year to advocate for the installation of bus stop shelters near county schools to protect the county students that ride public transportation. My heart breaks every day when I leave Fort Meade and I see students sitting on lopsided shopping carts because there are no benches. I know, Mr. Pittman, you just recently installed a bus stop shelter at Severn Library, but if we could come around the corner on 175 and put some bus stop shelters there for the students, I would greatly appreciate it as an AACPS parent, and I'm sure others will too. Also, while I'm up here, I wanted to ask if we could get the county support for Maryland House Bill 373 that seeks to lower the voting age for school board elections to 16. Currently in Maryland law, you guys can make that change without this amendment by a vote with the county council. So also consider that, please. Given the book banning and critical race theory things that are happening, I think that would be something significant for our students to have a say. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Moses Jackson. I didn't have a clue that I was going to be standing up here this evening, but I live in Severn on Disney Road. I've been there since 1984, and I've seen a lot of changes and a lot of building. Since there's been so much construction there, the deer, I'm advocating for the deer. They don't have anywhere to go, so they're in my backyard and in everybody else's backyard, and of course on Disney Road. So there is no deer crossing sign on Disney Road. Of course, Arundel Forest has just been completed in the last 3 years, and they have a deer crossing sign there. So all up and down Disney Road, there is no deer crossing sign. So I would appreciate it if there'll be put one there, because maybe every 2 to 3 weeks you see a deer land on Disney Road. So I'd appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, would anyone else like to speak tonight? Okay, well, hearing none, I want to thank everyone who came out tonight. And for those of you who spoke, we heard you. We've been taking notes. If there are any other comments that you may leave here and you just thought about, you can email them to budget-comments@aacounty.org. That's budget-comments@aacounty.org. And to close this out, now I will turn it over to Councilmember Smith.
No. I definitely took copious notes. I think it's important to get a sense of where the pulse of the community is when it comes to what we vote on. That discretionary spending that you saw earlier displayed and talked about by the county executive, as well as Chris Trumbauer, the county budget officer, speaks value, because the budget is literally a message. It is a message to the citizens of the county of what we think we value. It is a piece of paper, several hundred pieces of paper, quite frankly, that tells you all what direction we're going to head in. And so when we are able to include sort of the information that we receive from you all in that budget, it puts us on line with where the pulse, where the heart of the county is, the citizens, and what we should be investing in. So I'm grateful for this opportunity to hear from you all. You will certainly see some of these, at least in my mind, recommendations included as options here going forward. I'll certainly speak with the county executive as we sort of matriculate through this process. But thank you all for being here every night. This is the 5th budget one. You have, what, 2 more that you have to attend?
I've got 3 more because it's the one in Spanish.
Oh, wow, he's got 3 more. And hundreds, if not thousands of citizens at the end of this will have provided input that tells us what message we need to send to you all and to the voters that you elected us to do. So thank you all for being here and spending your Wednesday night with us. So take care, and looking forward to the next one.
I do want to bring my notes up and go through a few of the issues that, or maybe a lot of the issues that got brought up, because a lot of wisdom in the room, a lot of real wisdom, and we got to listen to that. Let me start with animal care and control. I think I've told you guys that we've done something each year, and it is, going around the edges. Even figuring out where it fits in county government has been a challenge, and we're working on that. And we're going to be talking to you this year about making some major changes in that. And I hope with those major changes come better morale, better staffing. I'm not promising you a new facility yet, but that might come as well. So there's going to be some really hopeful changes there coming soon. Swim center. Please recognize that what Rec and Parks presented was their rankings done by the consultant. That doesn't mean that the highest ranked facility is going to have a swim center on it. I'll just leave it at that you've been heard, and I have to listen to the consultant and the department who do the due diligence. They were asked to go back and look at other sites, and they do their system. Everything's done in the government by a system. And we've heard your county council representative very clearly, and it's unusual for something to be built like that in a district where the county council person doesn't want it. So local courtesy, right? So we will continue working on that. Robotics at Lindale, wow, I didn't realize we had such superstars. All I can tell you is that I'm putting it on my agenda for my next meeting with Dr. Bedell. We meet every month and we talk about a series of issues, and I'll ask some questions about where it is in the budget, or if it's changed, why it's changed, and how we can help you guys get your kids to those competitions. Rezoning was brought up. Arundel Gardens, a neighborhood with industrial zoning and industrial facilities. We can't get away with rezoning industrial land, downzoning it, and kicking out what's there. There are places in the county where we'd love to do that, but that doesn't hold up in the courts. They're already there doing that use. For rezoning, if the land has not already been developed with that use, then there is a process to do that, and there's comprehensive rezoning in the different areas coming up, and we can have somebody talk to you about that process if you don't know already. It's not easy, but there are absolutely places that should never have been zoned industrial right in residential areas in the past. Libraries. I'm glad that in addition to the staff compensation, which is incredibly important for our librarians, the kindergarten readiness program was brought up. It was started a few years ago. It's helping us with kindergarten readiness in our schools, one of the most important issues for long-term ending the opportunity gap, and I'm glad the opportunity gap was brought up as well. We have a commission on that, and there's actually some good progress being made with some of the schools that have the highest free and reduced lunches being upgraded this last year. I know the superintendent is laser focused on removing some disparities and also hiring diversity among our teachers so that kids are taught by teachers that they can relate to. That work continues, but I have a lot of faith in our superintendent in doing well there. TAC, our teachers, really all of our school staff, we are absolutely clear that we are not done. We made some progress. We did the back steps. We did the starting pay. We realized that creates compression, and that we have to address the folks that are not in their first couple of years. And that we're losing teachers in those first few years, and it's pretty scary, really. My sister's a teacher, and obviously I know a lot of teachers and a lot of folks who are leaving the profession. So we've got to do better. I'm going to talk about revenue in just a minute because it might take revenue. Non-represented employees, thank you for being here and representing them. That means non-represented by a union. And we have, since I've been able to, even though it says non-discretionary for union contracts, just because by law you have to then fund those contracts, and then it is discretionary for non-representatives. We don't really see it that way. We know that our representatives need the same increases that our unions get. and we try to keep things as level as possible. School health, I agree with you that it is wrong that they are contract employees. I know that the health department and the budget office have been doing a study of what benefits can be provided, whether there's not really a proposal on the table this year to go all merit, but I want to get there, and that's another revenue one. That's another one that's going to cost a lot of money that may be hard to do, and we're going to have those tough conversations about revenue. Police, same thing. We're going to have to put together a package that is going to make us more competitive to get the people who, we can't make people want to be a police officer. We do like to steal them laterally from other jurisdictions. We have a $20,000 hiring bonus for that. We're one of 2 counties that has a $20,000 hiring bonus in Maryland for even new officers. I think we're 4th in starting pay at this point. We'd like to be higher, and we have to continue to compete. You know, we were under 700 officers sworn officers when I came in. We got up over 800 in 2 years, and then it dropped again because people didn't want to be a police officer. We went down to 761. Now we're at about 766. So the last 2 years have been pretty level. We have legislation that's coming before the council, a work group within county government. Somebody mentioned bureaucracy is the biggest challenge in this county, and there's some truth in that it's hard to hire. It's such a slow process going through personnel, and there are obstacles where we lose good people and they go elsewhere because it takes so long. So there's a list of bills that is about to come before the council that came out of a work group on how to expedite the process and make us more competitive throughout county government, particularly in public safety. I'm glad transit was brought up, and I'm glad the bus stops were brought up. You know, we have these cool new ones that have solar panels, and you can charge your phone, and then when your phone is charged, you can go to the cool new app where you know where all the buses are. We're finally getting into the 21st century with transit. We don't have enough. Our Department of Transportation has an expansion plan, and we actually have a little revenue source too. Now, when people get on an Uber or something at that airport that has so many folks coming to it, they pay a little bit of a tax. Other jurisdictions do that, and that's going to go right into transit. But we have to do better in this county there. Food bank, thank you for everything you've done. Got increased funding, increased activity, more organizations in a food distribution network, but that food all comes from the food bank, and so almost all of it. And so with the end of the fiscal cliff, the end of that federal money, some things we just can't stop doing, and food is one of those we can't stop doing. So thank you for advocating and spreading the word among people that the food bank is doing what it's doing. Incredible work. Fire, I'm glad you talked about paramedics, because paramedics they're hard to hire. We train our own as well, and we try to increase the numbers that we train. We have gotten the SAFER grant and used that to increase our hiring. Our last recruitment class, our last academy class was just over 60 folks. So we are building our fire department to the levels that it needs to be, but it's taking time. We're starting from a long way below where we should have been. Save Our Trees. Thank you for volunteering. This is an all-volunteer organization. I believe trees are important. They're important for our health. They're important for our environment. I think we lose almost as many trees to English ivy killing them as we do to development. And so we did have a person that we hired at Rec and Parks to do a vegetative management plan for all of our county-owned parks. We have folks now in other departments, and I also believe that we need coordination of those volunteers, as well as some contracts, DPW getting out there and saving some of these trees with some loppers. It's not that hard. It does take time, though. So thank you for doing that work and elevating that as part of our Green Infrastructure Master Plan. Housing, Reentry Hub. Thank you for coming out and advocating for it and celebrating and loving the work that you do. You know, it was something that in the first year I said, we've got to figure out what to do to improve our reentry, our numbers. And it took a few years before we finally had a plan that started to come together. And you're talking about it being a state model. Well, it doesn't deserve to be a state model quite yet, I don't think, because it's so new. But the Reentry Hub is actually being built at Ordnance Road. The facility part of it, we have Turnaround Thursday, which is a program that I've been to some graduations of that is new, and other services as well. But if we don't get these folks back into the workforce and help them connect with things that they don't have when you come out, we're missing out on part of a workforce. Our economy needs them, and of course their families need them, and we don't want them to go back into prison, into jail. Housing, I'm almost done here. Housing, thank you to ACT, Anne Arundel Connecting Together, for your advocacy for all of the housing bills that we've done. There have been a number of them, accessory dwelling units and a fair housing bill and the creation of the Housing Trust Fund. And then the latest one, which has not yet passed, but I believe it will, was requiring on new development for 15% of the units to be affordable for really middle-income people. So the new development that we're seeing is going to the high end of the economic scale and is not going to our local workforce in a lot of cases. We were one vote short. I think we're going to get there because the developers didn't love it because it's them putting the skin in the game. It's not necessarily subsidized. It's asking them to build some units that are affordable. Pete supported the bill. 3 members of the council. We needed 4, and I think we'll get to the 4 because we've told the developers who are opposing it that if they want us to do things to increase the supply overall, and in some cases some legislation, they've got to agree to the MP, the Moderately Priced Dwelling Units, the Essential Worker Housing Access Act. They got that message. I believe there will be a bill coming back very soon, and I believe we'll get 4 votes. But we have other things that we have to do as well, and we're going to work with ACT and other organizations. We've built an extraordinary coalition in this county that is unique in support of affordable housing. 10 years ago, people were saying, oh, we don't want housing because we want commercial development. Housing, we don't want more people. And if we do, we want to make sure they're very wealthy because they're good for our tax base. Well, that destroys our economy because we don't have any workers then. So we finally got people around. We've got, I think, the majority support for housing policy. And everybody who works in the county knows what I'm talking about because most of y'all don't get paid enough to afford the stuff that's being built right now. Glad sidewalks were brought up. A lot of neighborhoods built without sidewalks. Coming back and getting them done is bit by bit by bit by bit, focusing on areas close to schools in particular, but it's slow and steady work that we're doing. And then deer crossing signs. I don't know. Can we get a deer crossing sign? We can certainly go to Public Works and if there are that many deer being run over, it seems like it makes a whole lot of sense. So that's not what I expected when you came up, but thank you for bringing that up. And thank you for showing up. I really think that we can get a lot of these things done. I did say I was going to say something about revenue, and I think only one person said they didn't mind if their taxes went up. I think a lot of people actually in here would pay a little bit more to get some of the stuff that we've been talking about. We have done that. We did it in my first year. We did a little teeny bit last year just for the top 2% of earners, folks making over $400,000, $500,000 a year, so they were paying the same as other counties. I think what we may have to do is come up with some very specific things that we cannot afford, but we could afford if we did some revenue for those and be very specific about the revenue that we need to do it and what it's going for. And then I think we might be able to sell it not only to the public, but a majority of the council. So that is how we get these things done when they don't fit, when the numbers don't fit. So stay tuned on that. But I'm not opposed to trying. Are you? I'm not. Good. All right. Well, thank you for a great evening, everybody.